Recorded December 6th, 2023. Good afternoon, Rod. Good afternoon, Brody. Who's missing?
I
Who
forget
is
her
What's her
name.
missing?
name?
I
God, I
don't
can't think of her
know.
name.
Yeah.
Is it Angela? Uh,
Angelica? No, that's somebody
Andrea?
else.
no, that's not it. Elizabeth? I can't. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably not important.
We'll figure
yeah,
it
it's
out
not.
by
Yeah,
next
we'll
time,
figure
hopefully.
it
Yeah.
out. How you guys doing? Actually, I'm going to start with Brody because we haven't heard hi, hair, or anything from Brody. Where have you been?
Where have I been?
Yeah,
I've been right here. My butt in this seat, Edward.
nah, nah.
Yeah.
We've been conversing on the Teams channel for the show, taking care of business, doing things, getting guests. Where's Brody? Oh, Brody's jumping out of helicopters and skiing. That's what
Well,
he's
that's
doing.
coming up. And the helicopter. I'm gonna miss the Christmas episode unless there's a problem, and we get back early. But I'm going on a heli snowboarding trip with the
It's,
company I used to work for. So
You
it's
the
know,
helicopter lands though, Edward. It comes in
you did
and it
mention the holiday
lands.
show. Thank you for that segue.
I will. Yes, you're welcome for the segue. But yes, I will be gone, Edward. Actually, I'm taking a vacation day tomorrow, so I can go to the ski hill and make sure I remember how to snowboard before that trip because there's gonna be some snow coming. Snow coming in the
Yeah,
Rockies, baby.
that
oh
makes me
wait, please.
jealous. That makes me jealous. I was
What?
cheated.
From what? Snowing or your Olympic
Yeah,
gold medal?
for
What?
for snowing. No, I don't want to be thrown out of a helicopter. It's the snow piece. It was supposed to snow here last night and it didn't. I always get giddy because I'm like a little kid when it snows. It
I,
just
I
makes everything magical. Just
I
awesome.
have a ritual I've been doing for the last 15 years. On the first day I see a flake of snow in here, I drink a shot of moonshine. I, I just been doing that since I got out the Navy years ago. One shot of moonshine, and obviously
One
living in
shot of
Georgia, that moonshine is still there.
I bet.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
Doing that. But other than you saying that you were there, Brody, have you done anything this week? I mean,
Yeah, lots. Well, I have this job at Microsoft. I'm a senior cybersecurity consultant, and we
Bragger.
work with customers. I don't know if you do this, Edward, if you know this. We work with customers on technology. It's different than sales,
hmm,
where we go in and we
Yeah.
implement solutions to ensure that our customers are resilient, lower their risk, and ensure that salespeople get to go home with their bonuses at the end of the year. So
Well,
it's great.
you wouldn't be
cool.
doing that unless Edward
Yeah,
was
yeah.
doing
How,
his
how did
job.
Yeah,
how
no,
did
we
you, how
would.
did you
We
how did you
would.
get this? How did you get this customer?
We internally did our own
Yeah,
because we were
yeah.
so awesome. We were so awesome. They wanted us back for
Uh,
more, and so we just basically brought in the salespeople to sign the paperwork and
mhm.
do all the salespeople things, and then we're still there. So really, we're just a cyclical kick-ass engine of security over here in the security service line.
It figures that one of us has figured this out. Someone else is so busy they can't get a haircut, and some of us are just walk in, sign the paper, get paid. Get the work, engineer, architect, associate. We'll get that done. Don't mess up my account, my customer. I have a boat to buy next year.
Ooh, that's a good investment.
No, I never buying a boat is right in line with a free pet and a pool. You know, you might was put the cat in the car and drive it into the pool. But you try to waste money, right? And do that. But anyway, yeah, you haven't been around. Generally you chime in on when we're talking about stuff on the show. What about you, Roderick?
Um. Oh. So I just to kind of mention, Edward and I will actually be back as we were at Ignite a few weeks back. Edward and I will be in person together again next week in Houston on Wednesday at a user group called Hasmug, but we'll be at the Microsoft offices downtown Houston, or it's not really downtown, but Houston. I'll be there talking about shadow AI, of course, all the security AI stuff. But that's pretty awesome. So we have that going on. But I was really, really, really looking forward to next week being my last trip of the year, which it is, and then just kind of coasting for a little while. But then this week, things blew up. Um, a lot of things have been put on my schedule for the first of the calendar year. Yeah, I thought, I'm just going to coast into 2024, but no. A lot of cool things. Some things I can't talk about yet. A couple things I can. One of those, there was this Build AI tour that happened in October, began in October in London. It's been rebranded like Microsoft loves to do. We rebranded it to Microsoft AI Tour. And so
There's that word again.
yeah, I've joined the tour. I'm on tour starting second week in January, San Francisco, then New York, then a bunch of other international places. And I'll end up at the end of March at Experts Live with our good buddy Morton in the Netherlands. So
Whoa, friend of the
And
show.
I'll be there too.
you will. And Edward will also be potentially with me at MMS at the Mall of America is that April or May? I forget.
It's beginning of April. Beginning of May.
I don't know. I got to submit the paper for call for papers, but I got approved to go do it. My
It is
manager,
May, the first week of May.
he was like, "Yes, go do it." So I'll be presenting. On that note, I can see Rod again down in Houston. I'll be casing the room selling stuff. As you do, and then as you said, in Miami for that conference seminar session, I'll be presenting on Defender Experts. I'll submit I'll finish getting registered today. I got approval, and I'll submit my my abstract. Is that what they call it? Submit your abstract?
Title and abstract, and there will be like you need 3 to 5 bullet points of what they can expect from that session.
Yeah, I got it written. I just before I hit enter, I want to make sure.
Make it technical. If you need help with that, let me know.
Everybody got jokes. Everybody has.
He's got
jokes
GPT-4. He'll be fine. He can get those 5 bullet points.
No.
Do you see that? 100% natural intelligence, not artificial intelligence. Right. So there you go.
Talking about Defender Experts, by the way. Well, that's actually our topic for the night. I wanted to kind of mention really quickly because I was thinking about this earlier. We've had our audience really grow since March of this year when we had Women in Cybersecurity Month.
Blown up.
But even so, our most frequented, our most watched episode this year was with Steve Lee from Defender for Experts. So we're actually revisiting that tonight. So I'm super excited about that. Not ready to bring them on yet because I have a couple other things to say, but I'm really excited about tonight's episode. I almost, just to throw in a little anecdote, as we started the show and then we bring the host on camera, I almost brought in one of our guests instead because just in the screen here, our guest and Brody look very similar. I almost just brought him on.
Don't do that to our guests. Don't do that to our guests.
Yeah, You bet he doesn't sound like me,
Hey, by the way, we have December 20th. Brody mentioned it. I want to interject just real quick before Edward finishes. December 20th is our holiday episode. Brody won't be here, but as everyone knows, we do have another Brody. Henrik will be here. And guess what? This is huge. We have, 20 guests, Edward. Is that how many people we've invited or something like that? 20 guests from the last year. All of our popular guests from the past year. And Noodle. Who runs our Discord servers. Noodle is going to be on camera as a guest with us for our holiday episode.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be good. It's going to be good. So, yeah, we what else I've done this week? Presentations, prepping for EBC here next week. Finish that up here in Atlanta. Jump on a plane, fly to Houston, do my thing. Jump back on the plane, fly to DC, do more work, then fly back home.
You're going to San Diego or something.
Yeah, that didn't work out. I was heading out to San Diego to spend some time with Matt Sosman, face to face. He's out there, so still in the air. I'm booking a ticket as we get off the phone. So I think Matt and I just talk over Teams. Big shout out to you, Matt. Talked to him last week, one of these weeks, and he's doing big things with Partner Masters. Big shout out to the Partner Masters. If you're a partner listening to this show and you need to be a master, go to Partner Masters. They do the thing.
The name speaks for itself.
Okay, hold on. So you're probably getting rewards based on your sales performance at Microsoft. Now you're getting referral bonuses from Matt Sosman. What's going on here? How do I get in on this?
It's called it's the MSI show for a reason. MSI stand for multiple streams of income.
There you go.
You got to do it, man. But hey, those that know, this year, fiscal year being what Microsoft does, I end up changing roles, essentially transitioning from being a global black belt for Sentinel and Defender 365 to Defender experts. Quite a learning experience for me. You sort of know about these things, but until you do the thing, you don't know the thing. Now that I do the thing, I am the thing, and I know the thing. But there are experts behind the thing. So I got to talk to the illustrious. Well, I'll let him introduce himself, Mr. Brian Hooper, and his colleague Phoebe Rogers. And so they are on the show to talk about all things incident response, security research, and defender experts. But I can't do justice to their introduction. So the man, the myth, the woman, the myth, the legends, you guys can introduce yourself. Phoebe, please introduce yourself.
Oh, all right. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Phoebe Rogers. I'm a senior security analyst on the Defender Experts for XDR team,
Oh, wow.
based in Redmond, but joining today from my living room in Seattle.
Woo.
Nice. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Mr. Hooper.
Yes, sir. I don't know if I've ever been called illustrious, but I love it, Edward. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm super happy to be here. My name's Brian Hooper. I'm a principal research manager with the Microsoft Defender Experts team. I am joining from the cloudy and rainy Redmond, Washington area, so you can kind of see some of the Microsoft corporate buildings in the background.
Very cool. So we got the introduction and we got the titles. So I'll go back to Phoebe, and you said incident responder, investigator, and incident responder. In what regard? I know that the show titles all things in the life of a SOC analyst or incident responder and defender for experts. But can you give some context around that? Or the real easy question is, what do you do?
That's the hard question. So my team is Defender Experts for XDR. XDR standing in this case for extended detection and response. So the short answer of what I do is SOC augmentation, sort of like an MSSP, but we don't do the entire SOC work for customers. We work with them investigating their incidents, but also doing proactive threat hunting and guiding their overall proactive security improvement journey. So we do a lot of different things. Unfortunately, not the easiest to explain, but SOC augmentation is the closest.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'll get that same question to Brian. Principal research manager, is that like you go out and find the best principals in all the schools and you rate them? What is that?
Man, I don't know. I kind of want to do that now. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, so my days are all over the place, Edward. Sometimes it's trying to direct some really cool research into the gnarliest threats you see and hear about in the news, and a whole bunch of them that you don't ever see and hear about in the news. That's always fun. Sometimes my day is trying to figure out how to get Phoebe and her team better capabilities so that they can do their job easier, better, faster, which means the customer gets an even better service from us. Sometimes it's thinking about ways to expand our services. So Defender Experts is really a suite of managed security services that Microsoft offers. Today, we can help customers with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. We can help customers with even more of the Defender Star products: Defender for Office, Defender for Cloud Apps, Defender for Identity. We can help customers who want hunting assistance. We can do hunting for customers, and we can help customers do even more. Phoebe talked about what our XDR analysts do, and that is really the highest end of services we offer for customers, where they don't just want our help hunting, but they also want our help doing and responding. And this is a pretty significant need that a lot of our customers have. But then some days I think about where we go beyond that. What's next? What else do customers want help doing? And not committing to anything, but we hear customers who want help with even more cloud workloads with Defender for Cloud. They want help with network signals. They want help with IoT. They want help with I don't know, shoot. They want help with posture management. They want help with configuration. They want help with Intune. There's no shortage of things customers want and need help with. And some days I get to kind of think a little bit bigger and say, well, does it make sense? Do we want to expand in those areas? So I don't know.
Love that,
That's-
Brian. Love that. When
That's a good answer.
customers come up and talk to you, I mean, if they go, I don't know, where do we start? We have a security operations program department. We want to modernize. I feel like we're boiling the ocean trying to plan for this thing. Where do you like organizations to start their journey to a good security operations modernization journey?
Dang, that's a big question.
Yeah, I know. I read some good answers in a book. I want to see what your answers
are. So the first thing that I usually want to try to emphasize with customers is our services right now, we get to sit on the shoulders of giants. We get propped up by the tremendous Microsoft security products that we have. So, all the Defenders, and then how they come together in the new Microsoft, I still say Microsoft 365 Defender, but it is now Microsoft Defender for XDR. Everything coming together there into this kind of suite of products where the whole is better than the sum of the parts. That's the start of the conversation. The start of the conversation with a customer going through really their security monitoring journey. It starts there, and then you end up talking with the customer about, okay, well, what are you doing in these different domains? So maybe the customer has some of our products, maybe they don't, maybe they've heard about some of them, maybe they don't. I for one, love to talk with customers about where they're at right now. Like, what are they doing for endpoint monitoring and endpoint management? What does their endpoint agent situation look like? What are they doing for cloud providers? What's their email situation look like? Have they heard about these things called identity threats? Based on those answers, you really start getting a good feeling for the customers, kind of where they're at in the journey, where they're at on the maturity model, which is super important for us, because then we can have better informed conversations about where managed services make sense. Not every customer needs them. Not every customer wants them. Not every customer is ready for them. But hopefully by the end of the conversation, they at least understand what they are and why they might consider them. That's kind of the first set of conversations. Also, full disclosure, I'm not Edward. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not there to push dollars and cents. I like
Plus
that.
points to Brian.
I know.
Yeah. Brian's speaking from the heart. We know, Brian. We know you're speaking from the heart.
First blood goes to Mr. Hooper.
All right.
All right, and that's
Great
fine.
answer.
So Brian, start down that path, right? I'm just curious, do you have customers that approach you thinking that, okay, Microsoft is just going to do this stuff for me, because they literally don't understand that maybe they can do some of that stuff themselves?
I mean, there's every type of customer out there. I think there's customers that not only want services like ours to do some of the daily monitoring. They also want services like ours to start taking some actions. And then you find out it's like, oh, actually, no, you wanted someone to also help you deploy the product, to help you configure the product, to help you manage the product as new features are rolled out, so then it's like, well, hey, wait a minute, I've got you as a service provider. I just assumed you would start turning on all the things when they're released, right? Like you're going to know my environment, you're going to know what I need. And it's like, well, now you start to get into this interesting mode of, did the customer get a managed service for some part of their security operations portfolio? Or is the customer in some mindset that they've basically outsourced all SecOps to Microsoft?
Yeah.
That's a tricky situation, because that's not a service that
Well,
we
that's
provide.
almost just throwing up your hands and say, I don't want to have to worry about security, but every customer, they have to worry about security because it's their stuff.
Yeah,
No matter who they outsource whatever that thing is to,
Yeah.
right?
because security is not the issue.
Yeah.
It's line of business and day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You put a security tool in, it's never hacked itself. It's never exposed itself. It's when you have to look at the overlay on, don't disrupt payday, don't don't do this, don't mess up our go-to-market production schedule. That's the hard part. So let's assume that I didn't oversell, so Brian doesn't have to take care of everything, right?
Or Brody. Brody's the one that does the install. So
Yeah, well, that's why I keep selling. I take Brody out, and then I can get some real. Anyway, Brody and I are back scratcher brothers, right there. I got the back scratcher. So Brian has done all his stuff. The salespeople have done their thing, and they say, yeah, and they get on board it. And now the hard job comes. Phoebe, what is a day like for you? You can choose today, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday. What does it look like for you when you got to? Well, tell me what are you doing? Part of the title was day in the life of an incident responder. Give me an atypical day.
Well, I can tell you about today. Today's been a really busy one. First of all, like a general day, the bulk of the analyst time is spent watching our incident queue. So when an incident happens in a customer environment, it pops up in our queue and we go investigate it, determine if it's true positive or false positive, benign, and instruct the customer on what they need to do to remediate that issue. That's kind of the core of the service. So we're kind of constantly watching the queue to see if anything new needs investigating. But outside of that, everyone's days are a little bit different. I do a lot of threat hunting as well through my customer environments, and I also spend a lot of time building dashboards in Azure Data Explorer, kind of raising up new potential bad activity. And I also, from a personal perspective, I help manage our kind of automation engine that manages our cases. So today I had 2 customer calls. So we meet with our customers on a regular basis, maybe biweekly to monthly, reviewing everything that's been going on with them over that period of time, raising up any new issues that need to be addressed, and making recommendations on proactive security improvements. So there's time that goes into prepping for those calls, as well as the constant day-to-day of evaluating the customers, seeing what needs fixing, what are problems, what are potential problems. So again, today I had 2 different customer calls, which is a busy day for me. And the rest of that time has been spent either in the queue or building out more tooling and more documentation for some of the other side projects that I work on.
Phoebe, what is your favorite query language in the entire world?
He stole my question. He stole my question.
What an easy question to answer. Of course, it's Kusto.
Oh, very
Kusto,
nice.
my love.
I heard all the references to creating dashboards and doing some threat hunting, and I thought, that person
Yes.
must know KQL. So.
We live in Kusto. So yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's 2 types of analysts, right? Analysts who use Kusto and love it and move on, and then everyone else.
There you go. Hey, yeah.
And
I
that
got
really, I think, relates to Microsoft versus our competitors. Except for QRadar. QRadar now supports KQL, by the way.
Oh, really?
and they
Oh,
say they
word.
can run it on premise,
Wow.
so they can run the engine on premise. True fact. I got my very first exposure to Custo when I had no idea what it was, like how to spell it, from a gentleman named Mike Casas.
Not surprised.
And yeah, whatever. And I was the MCAS lead, and he was a program manager. He said, "Hey, I'm going to go do these things." He was showing me this Custo stuff, and he told me this 4 years ago. This is the future. You got to learn this. Like, man, I don't learn scripting and query languages. No, enough for that. Cribble uses KQL as well. Of course they do.
Oh. There we go.
Except for they replaced the K with a C, called a quibble. So Phoebe, is it true that before you become an incident investigator responder, they send you through this emotional deprivation boot camp, so you just have no emotion when you work? Because I know customers like, you got to help me and don't leave me. You know, how did they just pull the humanity out of you so you can do your job? Because otherwise, they'll keep you there.
Wow.
A customer will keep you there, like, like, Mr. Customer, I can't help it. Well, we're acting, we don't know what to do. So how do you overcome the natural inclination to help? Because sometimes it's like, hey, I can't stay sticky to you. And I came from, before Brody McLean, I became a salesperson. I came from that Sentinel world and that Defender world, and you wanted to help the customer. Brody knows, he's a consultant. You want to do the best. You want to be part of the team. So how do you turn your emotions off to get the job done?
Well, first, let me say, thank God for my temperament. I don't work in incident response. If we get to the scale of a real incident, we kick our customers over to Microsoft Incident Response. So luckily, if anything gets too nasty, if there's something that really needs that sort of IR, I don't have to do that. I
They're
know
crazy.
that's
I've
yeah,
met them
that's
and drank with
that's
them. They're crazy people. Yeah.
a lot of people on my team now actually were originally and Microsoft Incident Response. So they've come to the slightly more chill area.
They
Well,
didn't
some-
want to
some-
live on airplanes. Got it. Yeah.
And so for our listeners who don't recognize that Microsoft Incident Response, it used to be called DART. So shout out to Drew Nichols, who still hasn't changed. They've ruined him forever. He's an ex-DART person, been on the show. So you're not incident response. You go through, you manage the queue, you have the customer calls, you look at these things. But what is the, how do you gauge the customer? Let me put it this way. The alerts that are coming in are, into the Defender portal for all our listeners that see it. You see informational low, medium, high. I don't think there's one above that. Where do we play as a Defender expert? Do we handle everything from informational up? Do we handle medium, high? Do we handle whatever? Or is it whatever the customer says, I need help with this? Where do we assert ourselves?
It's a little bit fuzzy sometimes. So overall, we will investigate medium and high severity incidents. So that would include any incident with at least one medium or high severity alert. That's kind of the short answer. That's our scope. But we have also done a lot of work since we launched back. Well, we went GA over the summer, but we've been in public preview since last December. And over that time, we've been evaluating the different types of alerts that are impactful for our customers. And we've also started adding some new alerts to our scope that are or might be lower informational severity, but we still find that they could be, truly actionable alerts. You might have a malware alert that's informational. X malware was prevented. But depending on the source of that malware, that could still be really impactful and something that we do need to know about. So it's a little bit fuzzy. We try to investigate all impactful, actionable alerts and incidents.
Okay.
Great answer.
Yeah, and Edward, I would add, that was very intentional when we launched. We said, hey, let's look at the landscape. Let's look at what customers are being attacked by. Let's look at what customers truly need help dealing with, and then let's make sure we nail that out of the gate, knowing that our safety blanket for our customers and our safety blanket for ourselves is our hunting. So our XDR service, that is that highest end service Phoebe was describing, it includes our proactive threat hunting. And if you imagine, what are the things that customers are dealing with? Well, they're dealing with noisy attacks on the one side that are pretty well known. Our products are able to apply the appropriate severity to them, so medium and high stuff. Um, that's the low-hanging fruit stuff, to be honest. There's other attacks that don't fit into that mode, but the way that we make sure our service understands those and captures those and helps our customers do something about them, really for the lower severity stuff, it touches on our hunting service. And so our hunting service is by design trying to find those needle in the haystack types of attacks that are going to evade things, including our own products. They may trigger, because they're trying to blend in, they may trigger pretty low severity behavioral stuff off our products. But we, by design, bundled all these things together with our XDR service so that hunting almost compensates for the the specific product alerts that we're going after that Phoebe was describing.
One of the things I've noticed, and you know, Rod and I've been doing this a long time, and Brian, I'll make an assumption you have. Phoebe, I don't know how long. Um, the terminology, the moniker, the marketing, whatever it evolves into around hunting, something that seems to have manifested within the last 5 to 7 years, right? Because that seemed to be very exclusive to companies using red teams. So it wasn't hunting, it was pen testing, right? And now proactive hunting seems to be, on the responsibility of the entity that's trying to protect itself, trying to know what you know before you know. And why the intentions were good, once again, marketing and salespeople got a hold of it. And proactive hunting. Everybody says we hunt, we hunt, we hunt. Phoebe, this question is directed to you. Define hunting. You live in KQL. Obviously, you're writing queries, you're saving the queries, you're modifying the queries. But where's the creativity in that creation of the query that says, I'm going to try something? Do you get that creative juices flowing by trying to evade yourself? Do you have an evil twin in the mirror and you're trying to evade you? Can you do it?
A little bit. A bit on my background. I actually, not my previous role, but the one before that, I was a pen tester. So I do have some of the offensive experience as well. So that helps lend a bit of color to the experience of threat hunting. But there are a few different ways to go about it. Yeah, the kind of most basic way that people tend to threat hunt, which people also would argue maybe isn't threat hunting, is essentially looking for indicators, using intelligence and scouring their environment. Again, some people might argue that's not threat hunting. After that, a couple different ways you can go about it are, one, looking for known malicious activity patterns. So like I said, I used to do pen testing, and one of the first things I would do when I got on a domain device is see who's part of the domain admins group, net group domain admins. So looking for executions of that command, that's something that you could do. You know that that's likely to be occurring in a recon or in a malicious context. There might be some legitimate activity there, but you can then filter that out. And then some of the most interesting hunting is anomaly driven. So you could be looking at a regular sort of event, a network connection, let's say, but you're just looking for the rare events, the types of events that don't necessarily fit in. So doing also long tail analysis, you could call it. So looking at all of these network connection events, maybe you're seeing which are the rare ports, which are the ports that devices are connecting to least frequently, which executables or initiating processes are the most rare for outbound network connections. Things like that can raise up malicious activity or just suspicious activity or misconfigurations often in an environment. But all of that can be really interesting. So
Yeah,
anomalies are a fun thing to look at.
I think we talked about this on the show 2.5 years ago. It seems like it's been that long. When solar winds was the thing,
Mm.
remember that? And I got called in to a customer to say, hey, you need to look at this because we don't know what we're seeing. And I by with no means were in your role, Phoebe, or yours, Brian, but it was a customer. I knew Sentinel, I knew Splunk, and all that, and they were seeing this stuff. So I thought I was going to see that. They said MCAS is picking up something, and we have no idea what it is. And sure enough, later on, I can't say the customer's name, they were pinged by it, right? And I go, bingo, that's what that was, right? Going through that. So sometimes it's luck, right?
Mhm.
Not it's luck, right? I have no idea what I'm seeing. And when luck is involved, the first thing that I do is go find somebody else and see if they're lucky. Do you understand what I'm seeing? Like, yeah, that's something right there. We can take a look at this. So Phoebe and Brian, are you guys on the same team? Right.
We're in the same org,
Yep.
but not the same direct team.
Same direct team. All right. And Brian, researching.
Mhm.
How do you choose what to research? Do you wait for something to, once again, the question to Phoebe, spark your creative juices to go, let me run down the road on this and take a look at this, right? Or is it mostly reactive to see something out there and do investigation?
That's a great question. I would say there's a lot of different aspects of research. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's the threat research we do, but then there's also the non-threat research we do in service operations, and how do we make sure we have most efficient analysts we possibly can? How do we make sure we have happy analysts? How do we make sure we have tooling that excites them? How do we get them more KQL because we assume they want KQL all the time? There's research into expansion. I mentioned that as well. I think for this topic, it probably touches a little bit more on our threat research. How do we choose what threats to go after, to poke at? And where my team sits a lot is in signal generation. So if you think about an attack, it could be a SolarWinds attack, it could be a different attack. Um, our analysts can't do anything with those attacks if they don't have the signal. And the signal could be the raw data. The signal could be the snippet of a behavior. So Phoebe mentioned being able to do a hunt on top of a new process creation, reaching out to maybe an external website or an external non-standard port. Like that could be your hunt. I'm going to go after that and see what my environment looks like for that. Well, if you don't have the signal that stitches together process creation with network data and a destination port, like maybe you have the first two, but you don't have a destination port, our downstream analysts are stuck. They can't do that hunt. How do you enable that? You have to go back and make sure the signal supports the types of hunts you want to go do to make sure the signal supports the type of analysis you want to go do. Then expand upon that and say, well, that's to support a hunt where I don't know what I'm going to go find. You also have lots of types of hunts where you know what the attack may look like, but you don't necessarily know what that attack might look like from the perspective of our sensors. And a lot of signal generation work isn't as much about, let me go imagine the next way that attackers could attack our systems. One of the greatest advantages we have inside Microsoft and Microsoft Security is, by nature of so many customers around the planet using our security products and services, we get amazing signal. Like, you hear about it on the marketing side all the time. How many trillions of signals do we have? I know we've all probably heard that statement many
What comes after
times.
trillions?
I honestly, like, I don't know.
We're gonna find out, because it's gonna.
The number just keeps going up.
Yeah.
By the way, like, why is KQL so awesome? KQL is so awesome because not just the language itself, but the platform, the Cousteau platform that supports this great language, is kind of the awesome sauce. It's like, we as analysts get to write pretty natural-ish sounding statements, queries, that perform like lightning compared to things in the past. So it's like, the query languages in the past weren't always the problem. It was the platform that you were writing it on top of, and the fact that you were constantly having to worry about ingesting data, normalizing data, and then it was never performant, and your query took forever and then timed out. It's like, why is KQL so awesome? Well, yeah, I get to write a query in a cool language, but my query works and it is super lightning fast, and I get to slice and dice those trillions of signals. That, like, to the analyst, that's why trillions of signals is cool. It's like, I get to slice and dice that stuff. And so to go back to the signal generation, what that means for us is a lot of these attacks are not esoteric, in theory, attacks that I have to go imagine how they're going to play out. I get to go sift through trillions of signals to find them through the lens of our sensors, through the lens of the products and services that our customers use, to see in the wild examples. And when you're a security researcher, seeing the attack in the wild is gold. That's what you want. That's what you always want. Otherwise, you're making it up, you're simulating it, or you're trying to reproduce it.
Yeah.
All of which are not as good. As a researcher, you want those in the wild examples.
Well, and you also want the data, right? Because I know when I go look for something. So I've been working on trying to produce signals for AI for the past year.
Yeah.
You actually have to have the data. If you don't have the data, you can't. Right.
So you can't do anything. Yeah, it all starts with the data. And so then it's like, you start with the data. You then look at the data through the lens of something you're looking for. So we have the data, we have our product lens that sits on top of that, and then we have the scenario that we start with. And the scenario could be, let me go look for signs of a SolarWinds attack. The scenario more recently could be, let me go look for signs of, CVE vulnerability 1, 2, 3, 4. You start with this notion of, I'm going to go try to find these in the wild examples of attacks, of exploits, of this type of actor group, of whatever it is you're starting with, to see what kind of signal is there. And then once you verify signal is there, then you get to do interesting things like, do our analysts know how to surface this signal in a meaningful way? When it is surfaced, is it obvious what it is? Nothing is worse than knowing something is, I don't know, exploitation of a CVE, and then the description of the alert says suspicious PowerShell. It's like, that's not great. In that case, the data was there, the layer on top of it was there was some signal that was there, but that is not the best thing you can do for an analyst. The best thing you can do for an analyst is say, successful exploitation attempt against CVE 2023 1, 2, 3, 4. And so where our threat researchers live is that upstream signal generation work to make Phoebe's life amazing. So
Yeah,
I get
cool.
to ask Phoebe periodically, was your life amazing today? Did we do our job?
And you can think,
And
Brian.
so
it's 65 trillion signals, by the way. We talked about it Ignite. However, I looked back in February, we also said 65 trillion signals. So apparently it's just so many that we stopped counting.
Yeah, that's a good thing. One thing I like about the whole way you describe that is that I understand the words you're saying, but the way my career evolved, I see it a different way. I came up through networking. right?
Mhm.
And when people ask me, how do you get into cyber? I say it's two things. Let's not make it super complicated. If you want to go into compliance, that's process, right? But if you want to get into threat intelligence, threat detection, vulnerability, that's two things: code or network. And just my personal appearance, I don't have the attention span to code. So networking was the way I came up. And when I did that, I took on things like protocol analysis. So network general, sniffer, all of these things, and I would capture the data and just look. And then when I started getting into firewalls, started looking at Raptors, I started doing, I'll date myself, checkpoint on Nokia boxes. I started doing Cisco picks. I started going through
Yeah.
all of these things. And so and the reason I did it had no security context. It was trying to get people to stop blaming each other. The network says that the application is slowing it down, and someone else is saying it's slowing it down. So you got to come in and be the arbitrator and go, no, we got a faulty port here. This thing is flapping all over the place. And then when I finally got into security, part of my pen testing was the network aspect of it. Because when I got in, the first thing I would do if I got enabled, I'm going to span the port.
Mhm.
Yeah, I want to span the port. I want to see what's going on. And Brody, I still can because I did it today. And yes, you are younger than me, right?
By a little bit.
And
By a little
and
bit.
and Cabby said it's DNS. Yeah, DNS was a thing. It's more resilient now. You got DNS sec. You got these folks that'll filter your DNS, open DNS, cloud, everything else. But you know, right now, why attack the base protocols? I'm just going to attack the access. These poorly written applications, identities are not secure, and all these other things, because you can't break a firewall. You can go buy a firewall at Best Buy, Costco, CDW, hours. A firewall is a firewall. It's just a packet inspector and a traffic cop, right? So why try to break that? I'm just going to go on the protocols and Porsche you let me come in on anyway, right? And
I
ride
am
through.
also lazy. Yes. They log in. Don't break in. Right, Edward?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
I've heard this before. Marketing.
Uh, yeah.
Yes.
So for
Huh.
those who don't know, Rod and I started our own APT. We're still Team Six. So if you see us coming, right, you're already in trouble.
Phoebe, I'm
uh,
curious. How much do you leverage? Oh, my camera just went total drunk mode. Phoebe, how much do you leverage the Microsoft Threat Intelligence platform in your day-to-day
Good.
work,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm working with customers and we're telling them align your strategy to tactics, threats, tactics, and procedures against your specific industry. So I'm wondering how you utilize that in your day-to-day and how you talk to customers about threat intelligence.
Yeah, I love, first of all, I love all of the threat intel that I get working at Microsoft. That was like one of the most amazing things that I was so excited about when I joined. But obviously we have lots of kind of internal proprietary threat intel and various sources for that, which we definitely do use on the back end for our investigations and for hunting as well. But having customer facing threat intel that is really rich is another really fantastic um, use case. So Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence, MDTI, um, used to be Risk IQ, but
Mhm.
mm,
that platform I love using so much. I'm a big evangelist for it. Even though we do have all of this additional proprietary threat intel,
Yeah.
it's such a useful way to kind of follow trails through. If you want to look at your threats, your risks from a threats specific perspective, you can go look at Octo Tempest or Aqua Blizzard and go see what are all their TTPs. How do I then need to apply that to my environment? Where are all their indicators? So from a proactive perspective, it's a really great kind of comprehensive way to see threat intelligence, but it's also super helpful for investigations. So from a personal perspective, but also interacting with customers. I see there's this IP address logging in to X account, and I can go get all of this information on that IP. And because I'm looking at Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence, I know that I can also share all of that with the customer. So it makes my life a lot easier just having that sort of tool that I know is customer facing. I can share all of this. I don't have to reproduce it myself. Um, I threat intel is something that at least the customers that I currently work with, I think, aren't as focused on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
there are certainly lots of organizations that are really threat focused, but at least at the current time, that's not something that my customers bring up a lot. It's something that I care a lot about, but they're maybe not quite as invested at this point.
And you
So
want
let
them
me-
to be, it sounds like. So let's get the word out. Every customer that's listening now, go take a look at that. It's important. You know,
Well-
align your security program to your industry. Listen to Phoebe. She's got some
Yeah.
info.
And that's a great segue into, I love MDTI. A lot of people that are kind of paying attention know that that's going to be a free resource for Security Copilot. Now, I'm listening to both Brian and Phoebe talk about the things that they do, the things that they deliver to customers, creating KQL queries for them, looking up the threat intel. In that, it sounds like you both would benefit from using Security Copilot based on the promise of what it's supposed to bring, right? I hate to throw in the dirty AI word, but
I understand. Let me comment on it because
All right.
when this first started, and when
Yes,
Vasu was on the show earlier this year, and I would call it the shiny new thing, the shiny new, or the new shiny. We're crowning something that I think the strength of having humans behind something is the things that are not reproducible in artificial intelligence: emotion, worry, anxiety, the sense of help, the sense of wanting to help,
good jokes.
and good jokes.
And not having to learn KQL, right? I don't have to take Rod's course.
I've taken raw course. I have a cup to prove it.
I'm just kidding.
And so I what did I say on the show? If it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, swims like a duck, craps like a duck, it's probably not a duck. Why is this duck going out of this way to prove it's act like a duck? Right? Why is the duck going around going flat? Right? And you overplaying that. So wait, sponsored once again. Me, Dion, and Coach Saban, right, to do that.
Edward, you gotta be excited for Security Copilot, though. I mean, it looks super cool in all the demos, right? Like Phoebe and Brian, what do you like?
I
You know, they're in.
am a Defender Experts GBB. I will take the organic over the artificial any
Yeah,
day
that's fair.
for right
That's
now.
fair.
For right now, right?
Hmm.
Well, Phoebe, I'm gonna ask you another question so we can liven this show up a little bit. You know, thanks for your history background, being an ex-pen tester and everything. How do you get the creative juices going? Because one thing I want to know is, and the reason I'm asking these direct questions to you is for a couple of reasons. This show is an advocate and an ally. We always want to understand how to get more women or the underrepresented people into this field. Always. If you listen to all of our shows, that's what we do. What advice would you give? Because I got a brief understanding of how you sort of got to this position, but we didn't really go delve into it. And we'd love to have you on the show when we feature such things. What piece of advice, or how did you get here? That's the question.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely answer that. The general case, it's, I mean, getting into security, everyone has their own path because there aren't very many direct paths into security. I graduated from college in 2019, so I'm still relatively early in career. And I did not go to a school that had a security program. They had one InfoSec course. That was it. And it's my senior year when I knew I had a job in security lined up. Anyway, I was thinking maybe I should take this InfoSec course. And all of my friends that had taken it said, no, it's so terrible. Do not take it. So I didn't, you know, the one thing that I could have done that would have set me up was not good. I kind of fell into security through I guess networking. My internships when I was in college, my very first one, I was in IT, and I just really got along with the CISO of the company. And
Oh,
so
you
the
mean
next,
social? You mean social networking, not networking.
correct, yes, not computer networking.
Okay.
So yes,
Okay.
Oh,
socially
Edward's like,
networking.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're Edward's
Networking
friend
came much
until
later,
yeah. That's good.
but
Networking is very important. Social networking, Edward. Try it. Try it. It's good.
Dude,
It's
I
good.
am the most socialist person you want to know. I'm a socialist.
Just move to Canada.
Is that a thing? Yeah, come to Canada. Eh?
Keep
But
going, Phoebe. Keep going.
well, so I just really got along with the CISO, and so the next summer I came back and I did an internship in the security organization.
Nice.
And then as I was a senior, kind of getting ready to leave college, what was I going to do? I was lucky enough to get connected with a program at what was my first employer. The name is a little bit weird. The overall company is Aon, which is a multinational insurance corporation
Mhm.
and professional
Okay.
servant or a brokerage, insurance brokerage and professional services firm.
Yeah.
And they acquired a company that acquired a company, and they all still use their names. So you could also say Strauss Friedberg or Gotham Digital Science. But they had a rotational program for new grads through all of their different security consulting practices. And it was open to people that there were people that had studied various security practices in college. Like there were a lot of digital forensics folks, but there were a lot of other people like me that had not studied security at all. And the purpose of the program was to really get you trained up and get you ready to be a fully fledged analyst or consultant or what have you. And that program was so invaluable. I got so much incredible training. They also had, certs that were a part of the program, and then you got kind of launched into being a full-time consultant, which is the point at which I became a pen tester. But I think I really do credit that program with solidifying my position in security. I think without it, I mean, I would never have gotten that sort of broad
Mhm.
experience, and I may not have really ended up finding a place that I wanted to stick. So I really support that program, certainly. I don't know if Microsoft has something like it, but it
Yeah,
should.
they have various
Amazing.
programs. I participated in, the veterans into cyber, and so me being ex-Navy, I thought it was important. We would I like to go ahead and commit you to something, Phoebe, and put you out there in front of our hundreds of thousands of listeners right now. We would love to have you back March when we celebrate women in cyber, because the story on how, they may not be able to follow the exact path. The path changes as you walk down it, but I think the strength is to turn around and create a new path for someone to follow you, right? And we love to have you on in March, to talk about that, because a lot of people still struggle, both those who are in mainstream and those who are trying to get on the fringe. How do I get started, right? And that's the thing. I know that the show was, and we're at time. I know that the show was titled, Life in the Day of Incident Responder, Investigator, Digital Research Scientist, and everything. And the overlay was the Defender Experts. What I wanted to, convey to our listeners is that this is what you get with Defender Experts for hunting, Defender Experts for XDR. This is the background foundational of the front end service that you see. Think about all the horsepower behind the service, right? It's the things you don't see, that you don't know that you're paying for, that is making you more resilient against this. Having worked at partners, having helping partners build their MSSP practices, I understand it. Brody knows, Rod knows, myself, Brody, we know the Untenues, we know the Blue Voyants, we know the open systems, well, continue whatever they may be, and what they have to do. So I think the prevailing trend is there will be no deprecation of a sort of partners that provide MSSP services, but you're seeing people trying to gravitate toward first party providers because they want to be closest to the people that own the juice, right? That doesn't make the other things insignificant or deprecate them. It's augmentative. That's all it is, right? Because time is the thing, right? And if sim is not the answer, sim is a tool. Because when you're looking at sim, you're looking at stuff that's already happened. It is not a incident response. It is an incident detection mechanism that you use to validate some of the things, right? And so I wanted my listeners to understand Defender for Experts is that thing that gives you a little bit closer to figuring out how it happened. What's it? What's the crime show? First 48 hours. After 48 hours, the trail goes cold, right? And you want to get it close as you can. So great show. I finally got to meet Brian. I've heard about him for forever. Never met the guy. I heard he was deadly serious, but he was joking with me up in Redmond. So I said, same guy. He's pretty cool. he had
Oh
a joke.
man, someone said I was deadly serious, huh? Okay.
You got
I'm
a
not going to
rep,
put the
man.
person out that said it was
Oh.
Andrea Fisher. Um,
Oh, that's that name from earlier. Yeah.
oh yeah,
I know
Andrea's not in it.
Andrea too.
Yeah,
I'll have to give her
she told me
credit
to
for
tell you
that.
hello. She's traveling for work, so she's a co-host on the show also. We'd like to thank both of you for coming on. You'll have the parting word, anything you want to say, and we also like to extend the invitation. Come host the show. We love to have our previous guests come on and host the show. We've done several times. That way we can take vacation and not have to do the show from Morocco, right? And Phoebe, I will hold you to it. Come on in March. People would love to hear your story.
Yeah, Phoebe, you've been voluntold. You're showing up, so yeah.
Okay.
All right.
If I must.
That's the first thing a
Happy
salesperson
to.
do. You want to buy this, right? No, yes, you do. You do want to buy it, right? You just don't know you want to do it.
Sales guy.
Any parting words between Phoebe and Brian? You guys are good? We good? We good? Everybody good?
Yeah, just thank you for having us on. It was great to chat with you all. I also do want to update. I was just searching for the rotational program, which I participated in, the Cyber Associate program at Aon, and apparently it's no longer around.
Did they revoke your
Unfortunate.
certificate as well?
No, that
Oh,
was
good. Okay.
GIAC. They can't take that away from me.
All right.
It's on the wall.
You see somebody in the background come in and just pull it off the wall. And walk out.
Right.
Yeah, I do that. So, to our listeners, thanks so much. We're in the dog days of holidays. Once Thanksgiving hits, everything sort of goes downhill, right? People start folding off. Next week, really good show. We're going to talk more KQL with some threat hunting, right? Is it
More KQL.
More KQL. And then we're going to go into holiday routine with our Christmas show. We're going to have prior guests. It's going to be fun. No topics. Bring your eggnog, bring your beer. And we're going to have Santa Claus visit us. Real
Really?
Santa. Oh, yeah. Santa's
We haven't
coming on the
talked
show.
about this yet, so don't. Yeah.
I won't put it out there yet. Right? And then we're going to take a little break and we'll come back the first of the year. Please listen to the show. We encourage all our guests. You have other choices, but we chose it. We appreciate you chose our show. We have fun here, right? And we do that. Until next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Get your
Thank you
back
so much.
stretches.